guys, I'm Jose.
I'm Lupe.
And we're back to react to part 3 of the Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Timeline. I was just gonna call it the lore. Last episode, we dealt with Afton. He started killing.
He got on him, just all those children.
Yeah. And then he got killed.
By the children.
By the children. And the rabbit suit he killed those children in. And yeah, now he's Springtrap. Henry left him alone in that room. And I think that's where it ended. You know, we saw a ton of detail on his murders, like the kids and why he did it, how it started, his son, how he tormented him after, you know, the first kid killed the oldest kid killed the, I think, middle child? I don't know.
The youngest one, the middle child, wasn't it the girl?
I don't know, but he killed the small one, the crying kid. And, you know, to prevent anything from happening again, William kind of just played sounds in the halls to make him hallucinate. And he saw the nightmare animatronics. And that's what Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is. You're playing as the brother who killed the other brother, trying to, you know, staying awake throughout the night because your father has illusions in the hallway. I didn't know that's what that was. It makes it a lot more interesting. And then the kid, the daughter, she also died. She got too close to baby. There's a whole mini game about that. There's like you're playing as the circus baby animatronic. You're like it's a 2D thing. It's like a 8-bit game. You're collecting cupcakes and feeding children, and at the end you get an ice cream, and you have to come all the way back to the beginning before the time runs out, and then you see the kid and you kill the kid.
Oh God.
The claw comes out and just like crunches her. And now the daughter is in baby. And then William melted all the animatronics to make Fazgoo, I think that's what it is. And yeah, it makes him immortal, I think.
Yeah, and he killed Henry's daughter as well.
He did kill Henry's daughter. That was the first one. I think she turned into the puppet. But yeah. It's pretty much...
All this is making me scared for the movie.
Yeah, I wonder what the movie's going to show. Well, there's 3 movies, so I don't know how far the first movie's going to get. I don't know if we're going to see Springtrap in the first movie. I don't think so.
I don't think so. That's just going to be the making of it or something. And then it's going to be maybe a second movie? If we even get it at all. What if they change things?
I think they already signed deals.
Okay.
So we ended with William dying, quote unquote. We're going to continue from there. Let's just get onto it, because at this point in the story, I'm a little hazy. I know about the Pizzeria Simulator game and like what happens in that, but I don't know what happens to like lead up to that. So I'm interested to see this. So let's just go.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory and page 20 of our final FNAF timeline. This is getting ridiculous. Last time we covered
20
William
pages.
Afton's rise as a serial
My
killer,
God.
how the loss of his young son in 1983 caused him to make one fateful promise that would ultimately serve as his driving force for decades. I will put you back together.
He did say
Fueled
that.
by grief and obsession, Afton would lose himself in work and drinks. One night in a fit of rage, he lashes out against Henry's young daughter Charlie, his first murder. This
Why'd she
moment
fall
becomes
like
the
a
first
Family Guy
domino
character?
fall in the long series of events that ultimately destroys William's life and the lives of those around him. That
Oh
one
yeah, his
murder
wife
gives
left
Afton
him
a
too.
taste of
Oh,
blood,
yeah.
resulting in the deaths of 10 more children across 2 different pizzerias. Those children go on to possess animatronics, giving Afton his first exposure to Remnant and the potential
Remnant,
solution
that's
for
what it was
bringing
called,
his son
not
back to
Fazgoo.
life. The need to learn more about this miraculous power leads him to produce the Funtime animatronics, as well as their capture devices. Robots designed to bring kids to him for experimentation and collection of more Remnant. Except there was one thing that he didn't account for: his daughter's curiosity. He made the robots too appealing, and it would cost him Elizabeth's life. Now with 2 children to put back together, Afton was more desperate and crazed than ever, returning to defunct pizzerias to steal the possessed metal still living inside their walls. What he didn't account for, though, were the ghosts, forcing him to pay for the sins of his past. When last we left him, William was spring-locked, bleeding to death behind a secret wall. Gone, but certainly not forgotten, as we're about to see in today's video. Today we're finishing up chapter 2 of our story, wrapping up the Afton era. Over the next 6 pages, we switch our focus to the other main character of the franchise, Mike, a young boy dealing with the
Oh, the
fallout
brother.
of a stupid childhood decision with tragic consequences. A young man whose life is best described as collateral damage, caught in the blast radius of William's whirlwind of destruction. Now, before we begin, let me just rip off the band-aid now. We won't be finishing the timeline today. I know.
Yeah.
I would not
Sorry,
expect
I wanted
that.
to.
There's another video.
VR, AR, and security breach wound up taking
The AR game is
9
important?
pages of script. And I've already made you wait long
It's like
enough
a
for this part, so I
Pokemon
just had to
Go
make the
type of
executive
game.
call to break this one up into 2. Don't worry, that part is already written. It is already recorded. It is just in the process of being edited. It is a hefty episode. So mark it on your calendar. That one's actually going to be going live on March 25th. It's also coming complete with a live talk back where we go
It's
back
June
over
23rd
everything
right
from the past couple episodes, as well as having ourselves some very special guests. So overall, that one should be a lot of fun. Fair warning, though, the conclusions we've reached that solve security breach, whew, they are controversial. I feel good about them. Like, I think that we've locked in on a lot of answers here, but they're gonna raise a lot of discussion. Let's just say that you're either gonna love that episode or hate it. I don't really think there's gonna be much in between on that one. Anyway, without any further ado, let's cover a chunk of the timeline that's a lot less controversial. Let's meet Mike.
Continued.
William still wasn't back. Weird. Michael knew his father sometimes traveled for work, disappearing for days on end, but usually there was some sort of notice, a phone call, a post-it, something. It's not like Michael and his father were close, far from it, but as a household of 2 suffering men coping with years of tragedy and loss, there was at least some element of communication between the two of them. They were united by a name and a shared pain. This time, though, things felt different. William had left nothing. His absence was longer. There were no check-ins, no updates.
He's alone now.
Something had happened. If there was one thing Michael knew about his father, it was that he had contingencies, safety checks, backup plans. His father was a careful and guarded man. He held his cards close to his chest, and as such, William had prepared him in the event that something like this ever happened. Normally, his father kept his home office locked, but in the event of an unexpected, prolonged absence, Michael had been instructed to enter his father's office and look behind an empty set of shelves mounted in the corner of the room. Rolling his eyes, Michael entered the office. Never fully understood how William was able to spend so many hours of his days locked up in here. There was just nothing to do. Most of this place was empty. He dragged himself over to the shelf in the corner, expecting to find an emergency contact list, a family safety deposit box. But what he actually found there was completely unexpected.
Father, it's me, Michael.
I know this voice line.
I found it. It was right where you said it would be.
The shelf swung open and revealed a giant industrial elevator, one that led straight down into an underground bunker. But that was impossible. Hidden inside his childhood home was a secret entrance to an enormous
That's in your
underground
house?
science lair? It didn't make any sense. Seriously, it didn't make any sense. And yet, here
Yeah,
it
how did
mapped
that- was it-
directly
how was that
underneath the
even
floor
built?
plan of the house that he'd
Nobody
grown up in,
noticed it?
lost his brother
That's
in,
sister
been
location.
tortured in. Michael thought that he'd known his father, a prideful, sad, angry man with petty everyday problems, but clearly he'd been living with a stranger this entire time. His father had secrets. Suddenly, the days of William being locked inside of his office made sense. He'd been here the entire time. Where was here, though? Was this Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals? The Circus Baby restaurant always did seem to be a deeply personal project for father. A failure of his that cut unusually deep, especially after that first location had to be closed prematurely due to the gas leaks. After that day, father really did seem to change, to lose himself even more in his work. Clearly, the entrance he had found was some sort of secret back way into the facility, one that required crawling through vents.
Oh, that makes sense.
But in secret. Why? And that's when he found her. At the end of the facility, Circus Baby, his father's
That's your
pride and
sister.
joy. Except something was different about her. She wasn't like the others. The way she talked, the stories she told. This wasn't just a robot. She was alive somehow. And not only was she alive, she also felt familiar.
There is something bad inside of me. I'm broken. I can't be fixed. Will you help me?
Was this his sister? William's baby girl?
She's big eyes.
How? Why? What was this place? He
Why
dug
are you
around some old
alone
files
in
and
there?
found blueprints.
He has nobody else.
Storage containers, voice
Storage
reading,
tank?
parental tracking. And was that a
Luring?
child in Freddy's stomach? Was his
Oh, God.
father collecting and experimenting on kids? Were all the rumors that he'd heard throughout his past actually true? That the animatronics came to life at night? That there were murders done in all the pizzerias? That his father had somehow been the prime suspect in all of it? Suddenly, Michael's mind flashed back to his persistent nightmares throughout his childhood. Had he been experimented on too? Tears
If all
stung
these
in his
children
eyes
were
as anger,
disappearing in the
fear, and
pizzerias, I would
confusion
not
filled his
Like, as a parent would not go.
Secrets were pouring out. William wasn't just a lame, overworked father. He was a monster, toying with life itself. Suddenly, everything clicked. He frantically looked around the room, blinking human heads on poles staring back at him.
Man, those are
Green eyes,
creepy.
his sister. Blue eyes, his brother.
Oh my
Closed
god, they
eyes,
had
his
meanings?
mom. All just staring. Expectantly. These were meant to be human. William was working down here trying to
Oh my
make
God.
believable humans. Literally
If you click on them in the game, they
rebuilding
make funny
the family
noises.
that they had both lost. The small little girl robots with their British
Oh my
accents.
god, I hate that
This
thing.
underground facility suddenly took on a
The
whole
British
new
accent.
context.
Get out of there. Oh my god. Get.
Were those meant to be his sister? A replacement for her? A clone? Was William building clones?
There's an
of his
electric one
sister?
for some
They
reason.
seemed to know him, after all, to react to his presence.
They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
He always did have a bit of a resemblance to his father. Michael's mind reeled as the reality of his world crumbled to dust. No, he had to get them out of there. If this really was his sister, heck, if any of these things were human, souls, whatever remnant of the humans that they once were, they needed to be rescued.
They always put us back inside. There's nowhere for us to hide here.
Led
Go
by
home.
the voice of Circus Baby, he
Like to the
marched
home.
through the now empty halls of the Funtime Auditorium. He would lead them. He would protect them.
Oh.
And finally, he would be able to forgive himself for the killing of his brother so many years.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
the scooper.
The scooper only hurts for a moment.
Scooper, that violent extraction arm? Michael had seen that one in the pile of blueprints. Something about heat rendering the magical silver metal inside useless. In reality, prior to getting himself spring-locked and put behind the wall, William's methods had become increasingly sophisticated, with a mechanized arm that could infuse new bodies with the soul. William could finally
Oh,
give
wow.
and take away life. The only thing he needed were the bodies. But William wasn't the only one looking for bodies, as Michael was about to learn.
But if we looked like you,
Oh yeah, that thing.
then we could hide. If we looked like you, then we would have somewhere to go.
Michael was going to be the hero to help these animatronics, all right. He was going to help the haunted tubes and wires of these animatronics escape, just not the way that he anticipated. His sister had lied to him.
Yeah.
Another game of pretend. The scooper plowed forward, digging its extraction arm into his body. As he heard his bones ripping through his flesh, Michael blacked out.
But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not.
None of these people die.
For the next several months, Michael's life was not his own. He was forced to comply with the tangle of wires and spirits that lived inside of him. His body felt like an overfilled balloon begging to burst as day by
I
day,
remember
week
that.
by week, his flesh began to sag.
Was that in the
and
game?
discolor. He was a
Yeah.
walking, talking,
That
rotting
looks
corpse,
creepy.
alive.
After you
wishing
beat
he
like a
wasn't. He was
custom night, yeah,
walking
one of these
shell.
things
And while
plays.
he did his best to
And you get
conceal
worse
his
and
fate,
worse.
there was only so much a man filled with robot spaghetti could do. The entity in his innards would eventually leave, but by that point the damage had been done. His decaying flesh stank, turning him into a literal purple guy. But still, even with no bones, even with rotting purple flesh and
He has a
begging
big
to
chin.
die, Michael continued to live. That silvery metal remnant injected by the scooper meant that he couldn't die. His
Ah.
anger also refused to die. What he had seen down there in his sister's location had rocked him to his core. His father had killed and captured dozens. His experiments had killed his sister and then tortured him throughout all his childhood. He was actively trying to build human replicants. He didn't know where his father was, but Michael knew that he was out there somewhere.
I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you.
Michael had to correct for the sins of his father. He had to make things right. Michael would burn Fazbear Entertainment to the ground. I mean, what else could you do when your skin was permanently purple? Michael's strategy was simple. He would apply for night security guard positions at the old defunct pizzeria locations. That way, no one ever had to
No.
see him or smell him.
They're
during
still
his
operating?
shift. And all these old shuttered locations did need guards. Teenage vandals and squatters were always looking to get inside these abandoned buildings. And yet,
Oh, they're
Why?
not open.
wanted
It's
to
just
work
okay,
an
yeah.
overnight graveyard
okay.
shift unless they were practically out of options. Enter Mike. One by one, he would take on the job of security guard, changing his name each time to ensure that no one was able to follow his paper trail.
Oh.
Inside, he could tamper with the animatronics and figure out how they worked, writing about his experiences in his security logbook. While there, he would listen to the old tapes where upper management awkwardly welcomed new recruits to their summer jobs, even though he was working there nowhere near the summer months. He heard the gory details of his father's franchise from the outsiders looking in, confused and afraid about what was happening in the walls around them. Sometimes he would see his brother in the form of the Golden Freddy suit. Its
Oh,
name
yeah.
appearing on the walls around him. Except now, there was something else there. He he was no longer alone. Another angrier presence was also in the suit, as if two spirits were forced to share the same body. And Golden Freddy would attack him now. It was aggressive. Its vengeance wanted to lash out at anyone with the Afton name. Anyone who wore a security guard out.
Golden Freddy's
Over
really
time,
rare.
Mike worked
When you
his
see
way
him,
up
he
the
crashes your game.
Pizzeria, the bigger, better Freddy Fazbear's. He spent weeks there looking for clues as to his father's whereabouts. And each time at the end of his week's shift, he would then set the location on fire. Remnant
You
can't
play as
survive
him
by
throughout the game.
so burning
Okay.
away whatever
Just one
spirit
game or
laden
all the
animatronics
games?
All of them.
existed
'Cause,
inside
yeah,
seemed
he
like a
changes
winning
his
strategy.
identity.
All this revisiting of his past
Yeah.
was causing
The pay
nightmares
slip.
to begin again. Hallucinations that brought him back to his childhood. The guilt around killing his brother. His dreams were oddly mixed with the shrill phone calls of the security guards. But it would all be worth it in the end. The goal was to eventually stumble across the one location, the one job that would finally reunite him with his father. Little did Mike know that that day would come sooner than he expected. 2023, an advertisement came across Mike's TV. Fazbear Frights. New
This is
horror
dancing.
attraction inspired by the awful crimes that occurred around Freddy Fazbear's Pizza so many years ago. It made Mike sick. People looking to make a quick buck off the tragedy of others, off his own family. This wasn't a joke or entertainment. Regardless, he had to be a part of it. If this team was combing through his family's history, they might stumble across something that could be useful. And if his father was truly still alive as he suspected, there would be no way that he wouldn't show up here. Maybe finally.
Fazbear
This would be
Fright.
final
The haunted
chapter of
house
his
they
family's
built,
marathon
yeah.
of tragedy. Mike applied for the job and was immediately handed the keys. Years of doing this had taught him that security guards rarely receive thorough security checks.
Looks
It was
human.
a little company Mike looked. They thought it was a costume on theme for the
Oh.
job. What little they knew.
Hey, glad you came back.
Yeah,
for
the surfer
another night.
dude.
I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time.
For weeks, there was nothing. But just as Mike considered giving up, he received the call that he'd been waiting for
Yep.
for years.
Something's
You're not
there.
gonna believe this. We found one. A real one.
Could this finally be him? Sure enough, there he was. William inside his iconic golden Bonnie springlock suit, only now it was green and decaying with age. And there they were, a small family of broken men finally reunited. It's been
Yeah?
a long time, Dad. Mike had always struggled with the phantoms of his past haunting him, but now all the animatronics
These things
he'd
are
encountered
annoying.
in the past months, hopping from pizzeria to pizzeria, suddenly sprang to life. Their burned faces haunting him as he tried to keep track of his father on the cameras. It would seem that William's mere presence had put the spirits on high alert. Ultimately, they were
You really had to play hide and seek with
annoying
Springtrap.
than anything
Sometimes
else,
he
but
would be
there
like
was one that felt
hiding.
different from the others. One that was more than just a mere phantom. The security puppet. If he looked at
Oh.
the cameras at just the right moment, he could see it floating there through the halls. He could even see its reflection in the water pooled on the ground. It would seem like he wasn't the only one there on a mission. While he was dealing with Springtrap, Michael assumed
It wasn't
that this
an
one was likely dealing
illusion?
with the spirits of
That was
the
actually
spirits,
there?
finally setting them to rest. Hopefully this means a happier day for all of us, Mike thought to himself. And in that moment, he felt the air around him release, like pressure being let out of a bottle. The building sighed, as if 5 spirits had finally been allowed to move on. He had the sense that his brother was a part of them. He rigged the wiring inside the building to misfire, and the dry, desiccated walls erupted in flames.
Yep.
It is finished.
It burned down.
Except it was not. Somehow, through sheer force of will, Afton remained. He had survived, and
Of
Mike would need to
course.
find a
Yeah.
new way of finishing off his father. Luckily, the solution would present itself later that year. Not from Mike, but from another victim that had been left in his father's wake.
We're talking about becoming a Fazbear Entertainment franchisee.
The intro to this
Restaurant
game was
ownership and management,
so funny.
Something almost anyone can do with a limited degree of success. You are now the face of the newly rebranded Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Fazbear Entertainment as a brand had been closed for years. William had been stuck in a suit and a wall. The only person who legally could bring the franchise back was Henry? But he'd largely pulled out of the franchise around the time of his father's disappearance. Something was up. Surely this had to be some kind of a trick, right? Mike, doing what he did best, applied for a franchise and immediately got the job. There was just one thing out of the ordinary. Paragraph 4.
If you are playing this tape, that means that not only have you been checking outside at the end of every shift, as you were instructed to do, but also that you have found something that meets the criteria of your special obligations under paragraph 4.
No employment
What's paragraph
contract he
4?
ever signed required him to keep special lookout for independently moving animatronics outside the restaurant. Now he
yeah.
knew something was up here. Henry was luring them all back. Rather than trying to go to them, like Mike had done for years, Henry was doing the opposite. He was putting them all under the same roof. He was finishing them off for good. Mike knew this wasn't meant to be a restaurant. It was meant to be a prison, a containment vessel, a locked box meant to trap them all in so they could finally end the madness. It took a few nights, but eventually everyone was there. His father,
Yeah.
the puppet, the robot spaghetti that had
I
once
hate that
violated his
Springtrap
body,
design.
and
It's
his
so
sister,
ugly.
now hopelessly devoted to serve the man that had once gotten her killed. It was time. He had been instructed to seal the doors and leave, but while he locked everything down, He didn't move on. If this was truly meant to be the end, if the remnant needed to be washed away, he needed to be a part of that.
This is where your story ends. And to
Oh
you,
yeah,
my
this
brave volunteer,
good old
who somehow
speech.
found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you. I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors,
They burned the place down again.
and give up
He
your
died with
spirits.
them.
They don't
Yeah.
belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace and perhaps more waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
And with that, it was over. The Afton legacy died with all of them trapped inside of
Yeah.
a literal box. As the flames danced around the office, Mike, for the first time in decades, was happy. But William wasn't gone yet. Although
Oh,
the darkness
God.
was open,
Why?
waiting for him was the thing where someone wouldn't allow him to move on.
That
Instead,
bowl
he found
cut.
himself locked in moments from his past. The pizzeria, his son's room, his underground bunker. It was as if his brain's neurons were all firing
I didn't play
at
this
once,
game.
overloaded, mixing and matching all his biggest fears.
Your brain's
regrets,
punishing you.
failures. What was this place? How did
Henry
he
died
get
with
here?
him
He
in
called
the
out
building.
into the silence.
Oh,
Then they started coming.
FNAF World,
Without warning,
it's canon.
animatronics both new and old began to jump out at him, bite him, rip him limb from limb. The pain was immeasurable. Make it stop. Make it stop. William, for the first time, longed for death, an end to this torture. Just as it felt like he couldn't take it anymore, everything was quiet again. It was as if the world had been reset. There was a brief moment of quiet, and then the onslaught began again. Dozens of faces from his past all focused on him. A waking nightmare that he couldn't escape from. More pain, more
Ultimate
ripping.
Custom
It was
Night, I
his
think.
own personal hell, but why? Why couldn't he just die? And then he saw them, a group of characters he never thought he'd
Oh.
see again. Those janky, stolen characters
And
that
they
had
start
started
fighting
as
him.
These guys.
mediocre melodies. It had all started to go wrong once they showed up, once Henry had made them. But mixed in with their obnoxious southern drawls, William heard something else. It was barely a whisper, but he could just make out the words.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I
Oh,
will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
oh wow.
Voice. He knew that voice, but from where? The one he shouldn't have killed. William thought back. He'd done a lot of awful things.
That one
but there
kid he
was
brutally
only
murdered.
one that stood out. Not Charlie, his drunken act of revenge. Not Susie, his first true murder. No. Instead, it was
No.
the one that he had lost control with. The one that he had broken beyond repair for no good reason other than because he could. The one that he'd stuffed inside the golden bear that his partner used to wear. Cassidy. They were back. And now they were trying to punish him, to make him suffer like he'd made them suffer. It was almost like William and Cassidy's souls had been locked together, fused by a collective rage and spite, each refusing to move on. But while Cassidy was so focused on taking revenge, they actually did the one thing that would be the downfall for so many others. They kept William alive. Even though fire
Yeah.
had destroyed the
Should've just
remnant
killed
that was
him.
coursing through his being, Cassidy kept William breathing,
revenge
paving the way for his
for
escape.
you, but,
William's
like, you
will was
made
so
him-
strong,
Yeah.
his soul so powerful that he managed to put a part of himself inside the circuitry that housed the spring-locked suit. And there, his consciousness lay, inside a single circuit board, waiting for someone to find him and
Ugh.
set him free. A
Gross.
person that
Looks like a
no
rat.
Okay, so a bit of a shorter chunk, but an important
Oh,
one.
it's
to
over.
shift perspectives to Mike and tell his side of the story. And with FNAF VR,
Oh,
AR, and
Mike.
security breaches,
Mike
so
died,
much
yeah.
to
Yeah.
explain, I
So
didn't
did
wanna
Henry,
rush
right?
through things
Yeah,
and
Henry
try
was
to
in
cram
the.
all
It
in.
didn't show the
Don't
audio,
worry,
but
you know,
let me pause this. It didn't show the audio, but when he's like, this is like a whole 4-minute speech he gives. He says that there was a way out plan for Mike, but that's not what he wants, and then he's where he wants to be, and then after that he says, what does he say? I'm looking for the words exactly. He says, "I'm remaining too. I'm nearby."
Oh.
Yeah. So they all he tried to like end everything, end it all, but Cassidy kept William alive.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All been
There's
patient.
just-
The final video is
murders
happening
are
on
gonna
March 25th.
continue.
That is locked. It is getting ready to go. Trust me, I want this thing to be over and done with as much as you. I am not just stretching it out for the views. But before we wrap up for the day, I did want to talk about the big Orville elephant in the room.
The elephant.
Mike's quest for revenge. You might have noticed that I was vague about the dates, and there's a good reason for that. I don't know them. There is no good way for me to make them fit in. Here's what I do know. We know with a high amount of certainty that Michael Afton is the character that we play as up until Ultimate Custom Night.
That
Mike
makes
Schmidt and
sense.
Fritz Smith, the security guards for FNAF.
Yeah. Because at the end of the game, I don't know if you remember when like I was a kid and I first played Five Nights at Freddy's, and I would like tell you about the pink slip. That basically they fired you for smelling bad
Oh.
and for messing with the animatronics. I thought it was a joke, but yeah, he was trying to free the animatronics. That's why you're fired. Reason: tampering with the animatronics. Odor, because he stinks, because he's a corpse. So you're playing as Michael the whole time.
For all the games.
That makes sense. That's crazy.
FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 respectively get fired for, quote, tampering with
Oh, there it is, yeah.
animatronics and odor. So weird connection between the two of them, right? But now, look at the phantom animatronics that are haunting us in FNAF 3. They
Watermelon
use models
Chica.
from both FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, meaning whoever is sitting in that security guard chair, Fazbear Fright, they have to have seen both locations and their animatronics. And that's not all. Their designs are burnt. It's a weird detail in the game, and it's something that the character encyclopedia repeatedly calls attention to. The burned texture for these
Fire
phantom
damage.
animatronics. Why is that so unusual, though? Fazbear Frights is the first time in the franchise that we hear about
Yeah.
anything burning down. From
So
that
cute.
point on in the story, it's like the characters turn pyro and are suddenly setting fires left and right. But for the first 3 games, nothing ever catches fire. The animatronics are just moved or repurposed in some way. So when did they burn? And why would our security guards see them as being burned? Someone has to have been going location to location, setting these places on fire, purging the sins of the past. We know we're definitely playing as Mike and Sister Location in FNAF 6 based on the in-game dialogue. And in FNAF 4, there's an Easter egg where we can hear the phone call from Night 1 of FNAF 1, meaning that whoever's in that bedroom has heard the recording as a security guard. We also know that Mike has seen the nightmare animatronics based on his drawings in the security logbook. So overall, there is solid evidence that connects all of FNAFs 1 through 6. You'll also notice how the character encyclopedia doesn't have a page for Mike Afton. This thing has a page for Chocolate Bunny Bonnie, but not Michael. Some tells me they don't want us to confirm how many games he's been in, because that would confirm too much of the theory. In short, this
I don't want to keep people
compelling and
guessing.
complete narrative. Mike as our protagonist and William, his father, as our antagonist. Mike accidentally kills his brother in Fredbear's mouth, which begins our story and sets William down his pathway of destruction. Mike is then haunted by the guilt of his past and is looking
it's the
for
IV
his way
drip.
across the rest of the games. In Sister Location, he learns what his father's been up to and realizes what he has to do to correct it. After failing to finish the job in FNAF 3, he ultimately helps Henry end it all in FNAF 6. It is great. It is a clean narrative. There is just one problem: timing. Mike's quest can't really start until he's been down to Sister Location, seen Baby, and gotten himself scooped. That's when he finds out about Afton's secret life. It's also when he's gonna start to smell, because, you know, he's a walking, talking, rotting corpse. And we know that he's not going down into the bunker until the Funtime animatronics have been made, Freddy's has been closed, and Afton is out of the picture. That all should be happening post-19.
I didn't know Freddy's was closed.
William is sealed behind a wall, but that then presents
Well,
us
makes
with
sense, because when you
problem.
play it, it's all
Afton
dirty.
has already dismantled the original animatronics as we see in the FNAF 3 minigames. How are those things getting burned if they're already deconstructed? But more importantly, we see FNAF 2 paychecks with the date 1987. That is way earlier than I think it could be. To be fair, Fritz Smith's pink slip on night 7 doesn't have a date, but it's a bit weird to say that the first few nights are in 1987 and then employee number 3 is hired on years after the restaurant closes. Anyway, just wanted to call that out because I don't have a solid answer for it, and I'd love to see your comments down below. And with that, my friends, this chapter comes to a close.
Oh, there it is.
March 25th for the grand finale as we cover the final 3 games in the franchise and the controversial answers we think solves what those
Gregory
games were trying to tell us. Until then, my Faz heads, remember, even though Afton kinda succeeded in being brought back to life, gotta admit, he's still looking a little bit on the dry, dehydrated side. I suppose 3 fires and being dead for a decade will tend to do that to ya. Fortunately, thanks to today's sponsor, Era, I think we can...
All right. We're not sponsored, so we're not gonna... Okay. So, Michael found out what his father was up to, and then he died. So, in the Sister Location game, what I gathered from like playing the game and looking at some mini theories from the game's released all the way to now, the animatronics in that place, you know, like they're all white and pink, and then there's Circus Baby.
Yeah.
So throughout the game, you're playing as Mike, you're calling around, trying to do all that stuff. But at the end, she tells you, there's like you enter a dark room, you can't see anything, and you have to like walk. And she tells you to go left and stuff like that. But you can actually disobey her and go right. Or I'm not sure if I messed those up, whatever. Y'all know what I mean. But you can take another direction and it leads you to a secret room where you fight. You saw it in the video. It's like a animatronic, just a bunch of wire, and she has like a clown with mask with a party hat. That is the sister, I think. It's Circus Baby. She used the scooper on all of the animatronics, and she like combined them into one like amalgamation of wires and parts. So when Michael gets scooped, that thing goes inside of him and like wears him as a puppet and walks around.
Oh.
And then after all that, they separate and he is alive because of the remnant.
Yeah, and then that's when he starts to decay, right?
Yeah. Well, he decays with the animatronics in him, but the animatronics are like, hey, this body's getting destroyed. Let's leave. They go into the sewer for some reason. I don't know where they go from there, but apparently they return to the pizzeria to get burned by Henry. I wonder if there's any more information about that.
About Henry?
About how like he got all of them in there.
So Henry's been the owner of all these pizzerias, or has it just been some other people?
I think it's been him.
Yeah, cause he just comes out he just dips when
something bad happens.
Yeah, but when William was stuck in the what killed him basically, he left him there.
He left him, yeah.
And then that's the last time we saw him until the end.
Yeah, he just left, and he came back to open another pizzeria. In that game, the Pizzeria Simulator, you start off. It's different from the other games because you have like a little room. You can like buy stuff. You can buy animatronics, buy party hats, buy games, make your own like pizzeria basically, and earn money. Don't buy anything risky because you will get lawsuits. Yeah, and then when the shop closes, you have to stay and you have to survive the night and stuff like that. So yeah. And then you gather animatronics. That game had so many sections now that I think about it. The building the pizzeria and like doing all that fun stuff. The horror part where you're surviving. And then there was like another part where you find an animatronic in the back alley. Ugh. You can choose. It's William, Baby, Freddy, for some reason. I don't know about that. And like a couple others. You can choose to take them in, or you can choose to throw them away. But you won't get any money. And yeah, there's like an interview process you do with them where you have to lift the paper and check stuff and see if they move and they can kill you and stuff like that. So technically it's 2 horror parts and 1 fun part. I never knew how to play that game. I got to like night 2 and I just like gave up.
Okay, so all the games 1 through 6 are different timelines, like one is before the other, or are they chronologically correct?
I don't think they're not chronologically correct. I don't even want to begin to piece that together.
That's just too complicated.
I know Five Nights at Freddy's 6, the pizzeria one, is the most recent. Oh, that we've seen so far. There's another one that just came out like a year ago we're going to talk about next episode, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's the one where Henry gathers everybody. That's the most recent. Because he kills them all. Well, no, Ultimate Custom Night's the most recent. I didn't play that one. There was like literally every single animatronic and background animatronic that has been in every game is in that game. Like you load up the game and there's just like a screen full of characters, and then you press like play, and then there's like settings, like controls. It's so many buttons, so many keys. I looked at that, I'm like,
nope.
Yeah, I'm not living. I played like 2 nights and I just couldn't do it. It's too much.
So is William just still alive?
Apparently, yeah. He put his consciousness into the suit. Like, what's it called? The little motherboard thing.
Yeah.
That's important because I have played the VR game. I did play the VR game. I like that. There's a second VR game coming out and I'm going to buy it. It's pretty much...
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, there's so much going on. Every time a new game comes out, it like messes everything up.
Yeah, you have to reshift everything.
Yeah, there's a new VR game coming out, which I'm 100% sure is going to shift everything around. And there's also DLC for the newer game that came out, which is also going to shift stuff around. So yeah, I could not do what MatPat does.
No, that's too complicated.
Way
There's
too
been
complicated.
so many years of information.
Literally. He played the games, read the books, something else. He pieced all of this together.
Has to look at every detail. Imagine
every detail.
You have to go back and back and back, and then after
notes, all of that stuff. It's crazy.
And then like another part gets revealed in the game, and you have to go over and erase whatever is not making sense. That is so complicated.
Yeah, like the mobile game, I didn't know that was important.
Apparently, everything is important.
Yeah, apparently the movie's gonna shift stuff around. Oh man, this is so complicated.
But it's I don't even know. I have to rewatch everything because
Yeah, we're
this
gonna
is
have to
so
rewatch that.
complicated. I don't.
Yeah, Springtrap was my favorite character. Look at him, he looks terrible. Like horrifying.
He's a horrible person.
Yeah, you can when the game first came out, once you beat the game, you have like little you unlock an extra menu where you can like look at art and you can look at the animatronics up close and stuff like that. You can play through the game again with cheats like radar and stuff. But I always liked looking at Springtrap because you can see like the muscle in him, like his flesh and stuff.
Oh, that's actual flesh?
Yeah, that's William. And his eyes are also William. You can't really see it here, but there's his actual mouth in there.
I'm surprised everything's still intact after years of being in there.
I am surprised they just picked him out of the room and didn't notice there was a whole body in there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was very unique. A lot of people didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was alright. There was only one animatronic there that could kill you. The rest just annoy you. You'll like turn down your monitor and look, there's Foxy. It'll just scare you and like,
jump scares.
trigger your ventilation system, so you have to reboot that, and you have to go back and look to looking at William, and he's not there anymore. You have to find him. He's really hidden too. He's like in the dark, all the way in the back. He's like barely peeking. You have to really look at stuff. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, me too. Is there another?
Yeah, there's one more after this.
Okay, yeah.
Covering the VR, AR, and the security breach.
All the extra stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna get to that next week. So if you have enjoyed this reaction, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment letting us know what y'all thought, and if we got anything wrong or if there's like something we should know, then clarify it in the comments because we don't know a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, and until next week, we will see you later. Goodbye.